Hello, I am Savannah Lomax, an MLC student from Kankakee Community College, and today I am going to tell you about the microbiology technique of streaking for isolation. Bacteria found in nature are very rarely found as a pure culture. Over the years, microbiologists have developed various techniques to isolate and grow individual pure bacterial colonies. The most common technique that is still in use today is the streaking for isolation procedure. The purpose of streaking for isolation is to obtain isolated colonies of a single organism that can be taken and used for further study. Streaking for isolation dilutes the sample organism that is present. Isolated colonies that grow are the result of cloning of the one original organism. Historically, this technique has been very important in the study and characterization of individual organisms. The theory behind the streaking for isolation procedure is that a single bacterial cell produces a colony of its clones as it multiplies. Streaking creates regions where bacteria are so dilute that as each bacterium touches the surface of the agar, it is far enough away from the other so that it can appear and obtain its own isolated colony. By this method, a sample containing more than one organism can be plated and grow separate and distinct colonies that can be used for further testing or be used to inoculate another plate to grow a totally pure sample. Modern streaking procedure evolved from the work of Friedrich Loeffler and George Gaffney and Robert Koch's lab in the 1880s. The very first attempts to isolate bacteria on a solid medium started with sterilized potato and carrot slices. Attempts were also being made at the time to make gelatin an acceptable medium. All had very serious flaws. They could be broken down by the bacteria that were meant to grow on them. Gelatin plating also had the added issue of melting when it was incubated and produced a liquid with a mixed bacterial suspension. J.R. Petrie discovered a way to solidify the liquid medium being used at the time by adding agar derived from seaweed, eventually developing the Petri dish. Even after solid media became the standard, it still took years for streaking to become the isolated method for isolating bacteria. Our modern streaking procedure was not developed until 1939, and the four-quadrant streaking method as we know it today did not become the accepted standard until the 1970s. Alright, to start the actual demonstration of streaking for isolation by the four-quadrant method, I will start by introducing the equipment that is required. First, we have our Petri dish that we'll be streaking our sample onto. This is our actual sample in the broth. This is the Bunsen burner, which I've already lit, and the lighter for it, and our labeling pen, and this is our loop that we're going to use to streak for the plate. Alright, and to start, I will label my Petri dish so we know what it is. Close that up. And then I'm going to take the lid off of this, set it back over here for a second. We're going to take the loop and heat it till it turns red. Just like that. Wait for it to cool for a second. You don't want to put the loop in the sample while it's still hot. Otherwise, it'll aerosolize the bacteria that's in there. We're going to deep down, get a piece of the sample. Make sure there's still a bubble in there. Close that up, put it away. Alright. We're going to start on our first quadrant, which we just streaked back and forth. No need to worry about getting it too perfect. Alright, first quadrant's done. We reheat the loop until it turns red again. And it's sterile. Make sure it's cool. And then to do the second quadrant, you take from the first quadrant a line, go back a second time, and then streak it, being careful not to cut any divots or anything in the plate. Heat it again. Make sure it's cool. And then we're going to do it again for the third quadrant. 1, 2, and then back and forth a few times. And then the fourth quadrant, same as before, just heat it till it turns red. Wait till it's cool. Then go to the third quadrant, pull it out a couple times, and then streak right to the middle. And then you're done. You just heat it, make sure that it's sterile again for the next person. Don't want to leave anything out nasty. And you put it in the incubator for a day or so. This is something like you should have in mind. The first quadrant has the heaviest growth. The second quadrant, you can see it's lighter. It's starting to get more isolated. The third's even more isolated. And in the fourth quadrant, right there in the middle, you have exactly what you're looking for. One isolated colony by itself. That's all. Thanks for watching.